Alan Ward, my brother, a man that's on a mission and has got a little bit of magic to spread to the world, man. It's a pleasure to have you on Fucking Real, bro. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much, my brother. Pleasure to be here.
I want to start, man. There's a lot to get through. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be a part of one of your workshops on Saturday, full day workshop. And mate, I've got a ton of questions, and we're going to talk about, the different sort of subjects and topics we covered, the breathwork techniques, and and how it heals trauma and guilt and a whole lot of things, mate. We've done the ice bath and just even the connection as a group made of males. But before we get into that, mate, I want to know a little bit more about you, your past. And how you got to this point on wanting to do breath work or support males in developing better, happier lifestyles and, things like that.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Well, I guess everyone's got a story, right? And mine was a long time of just being so confused. I guess like every man gets to at one point in their life where you get into those moments of stuckness, like what is it that this means? Am I depressed, or do I have anxiety, or what is this overwhelming or overbearing feeling of why is life happening to me in this format? Why do I keep coming back here? And, I tried therapy. I went to the doctors and followed the standard procedure that every male gets told to do, go to a doctor, fill out your K21. How bad do you feel today? How anxious does that make you feel? Straight onto your tablets, and then they make you feel another way, and then it's a numbing sort of cyclical process that just doesn't really go anywhere. And unless you're seeing the right person or having someone that is educated enough to give you an experience that tells you how to feel a certain way or how you should be doing things in a different way to change the outcome. So I got into a few different things over the years, and I guess after my last major breakup, I had a 2-year gap where I sort of just tried to slow the world down and just be with myself to just try figure those things out, go exploring into what is it that I need to feel happiness. And I think the biggest question that most men pose for themselves is externally, what can I do in my life to make myself happier? And the consistency of men that are trying to chase external validation and seek happiness in that, because that's what we're modeled to, right? The guy that's got the nice missus, the guy that's got the more money, the better job. If we go to that path, that will lead to the end goal of I'm happy now because I've got the money, the girl, the job, the house. And I've had all sorts of different amounts of money over the years, and I've had cars paid off, I've had this, I've had that, and I was still always at that same point of I'm fucking not happy, when I was younger. And it's one of the biggest tattoo shops in Bali now. I'd opened that in 2013 and it exploded. And then I had another tattoo shop in Perth, and then I went into multiple different businesses, and I thought that going through the process of creating something from nothing and turning it into something successful, you would find whatever it is that I was internally seeking that would make me happy. And until the point where I nearly had nothing again, I had to look at different ways in life and how I could explore that, like what it is that I was chasing. And the story will always be the same to this day. There is another movement, a men movement that is out there. And about 2 years ago, my brother Y, one of the brothers that owns the company, he had posted a video, and there was these large Māori men at the time with one of his earlier videos, and they were all yelling and screaming and crying and fucking cuddling, and I was like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I was like, I've never seen the impact that it had had and left on me in my life, and I was like, fuck, I want to know what that's about. What is that? What are they doing? And it was a little bit further down the track before I actually got involved into anything inside the men's workspace. And they had a promotion actually last year with G'd Up, and they were doing a worldwide tour and doing workshops all over the show. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to lean in, because I was at that point that everything that I was doing wasn't giving me what I needed. So I thought I have to be open to an experience to see what this gives me. This might be the thing. And I went there, and it was, very similar to the workshop that I held for yourself. They have a different way of hosting their workshops, but much the same. It's looking for things internally that you didn't see that were there before. Having the questions asked to you, exploring in such a way that you would never have a conversation like that with another male. Like, it's just not culturally what we would do. We don't go to a pub or go to a mate's house and explore down those avenues. These are very confronting questions. They've got answers that you need to be truthful to get where you need to get in your honesty. And yeah, I was sort of like fucking just bamboozled after the experience, and that was my first actual deep transformational breathwork journey. And I had resistance in that first one, but as I further explored and went into different experiences, I started to reveal the power of tapping into the subconscious mind and what's in there. And, it baffled me. And I was just like, what else is there? What's
addicted.
next?
You're onto it.
Yeah. And then I did his online program as well, the Warrior program, which was a very, extended version of what a workshop holds. It's like deep inner work and the healing, and there's a process, and there's a longer duration where there's a lot more involved, a lot more connection with other human beings. So you get to have reflection time of what it is that you're going through with a process. And then what did I do? I just started getting involved in anything and everything. And then to a point, I was like, I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy that gives this in one shape or form or another. There's got to be a space for people that are like myself, outside of what we would culturally look at as like, men don't do that. And why I was doing, I was like, I want to be that. I need to do that. How do I give this gift to other men? So I just went through a process, and I put my time and effort into training myself, putting myself in different experiences, other men's programs, so that I could explore with different people to see what they were offering, what more I could learn and get for myself, so that when I was asked a question or trying to give that back to whoever it is that I'm trying to help, that I've got the answers. And I've also explored it for myself. In regards to when I got a bit more further involved into the breath work, I always talk about this in the workshop, but I do believe in like the alignment of the universe. And same thing, man. I was just tinkering through Instagram one day, and obviously as you start following a few different pages, Breathmasters came up, and I was like, oh yeah, what's this? And as you do, they all start popping up, and you're like, fuck, everyone's fucking training everyone in breathwork at the moment. And then I don't know, this guy Brian Kelly, the founder of the 9D transformational breathwork, his video popped up, and it was like the same moment when I'd seen a men's video, and I was just like, that's fucking me. Like, what is that? I need to go figure that out. So I just fucking paid for it, went there by myself with a group of 30 people, and fuck, it was one of the most powerful 5 days of my life. Like, the intensity of the journey and the experience that we'd went through over 5 days. It was nearly 12-hour days, and I was just like, fuck, I can't wait to start getting this out there to the world. And
so we'll go into the 9D breathwork.
Yes.
Because first of all, man, thanks for introducing that to us, because I know that you were waiting on getting those headphones in time for the group on Saturday. So I was super stoked, man, that happened. When I actually saw them out, I put 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, yes, we're doing the 9D breathwork.
We had to come in with a bang, man, and that was a part of it.
Yeah, cool. So look, man, we're going to go into the workshop and the 9D breathwork and what it's all about, and some of the things it heals and clears and things like that. But look, I know you've talked about your journey going into this breathwork, and when you talk about the universe lining up, this is crazy, because you're talking about Emend. Wow.
Yeah, yep.
So my cousin actually done that. She might have been at that same session with G.
She was, yeah.
Casey,
we were at the same workshop.
Yeah. So Casey's put me onto you. But then
exactly, brother.
And then I saw Emend, and War actually sent me a video message last night saying we've got one in August, and I've booked to do a podcast the following day of doing his workshop when he's back here in Perth, man.
And the crazy thing is, I'll be a facilitator with War at that workshop.
Oh, yes. Wow, man. Yeah, so that's cool. So who's listening to this and wants to walk through that door? Emend? Well, I mean, you're obviously going to be doing more as well, man.
I'm quite busy still with my day job, but I think functionally that the next workshop will be with Wa and the men.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have time to squeeze one in before August, so
yeah, cool.
that'll be the next place of business.
Yeah, sweet. So there's a lot of take home goodies there for the people that are listening to that. And after this podcast, I'm sure I mean, the idea of me, Alan, and myself sitting here talking about this is to make people at home feel a little bit more comfortable about taking that step forward in wanting to, make a bit of a change in their life, man. They're sick of maybe some old toxic habits or relationships or behaviors that they might have, and want to deal with some trauma or some anger issues or whatever it may be, man. This is it, and this is the podcast for it, man. That's going to help you get there. So let's talk about Saturday, man.
Let's talk about Saturday.
Yeah. Well, I've been on a high ever since, man. It's again, just going back to what I was saying before, look, it is always hard to walk through the door. I was there with probably, how many people do we have? We had about 15 maybe, or?
Yeah, I think there was about 15 or 16 guys, and plus the facilitators. So it was a good bunch. I think it was a good turnout, and holding it for 20 people in total is a good number for where we were.
Yeah, cool. And it started off with a little bit of meet and greet, and you could sort of tell everyone's in that same zone of like, what the fuck am I getting myself into here, man?
Everyone is, even me. I'm the facilitator, but we're all feeling the same way,
Yeah. And then we went into what was it called, mate? Lions Energy.
Yeah, so one of the first exercises, we call it Lion Energy, and that was introduced to me by Cyrus Arani. And I did that at that 5-day retreat, and I just saw that was a beautiful exercise, and I'm sure you can give your own reflection of your experience of what you thought, because I think it's important to hear it from someone else that did it.
Yeah. Well, Danny, who's running the cameras in that you can't see, he was also there. We've had a little bit of a discussion prior to this podcast, and I think two things that I got from that exercise. One, it was getting out of your comfort zone straight away, because I feel that that's where you need to be. You need to sort of be exposing yourself a little bit, becoming vulnerable, but also just the connection, man, you can have with another male without touching, talking, and just doing this exercise in particular. There's a couple of times where you've done a similar sort of exercise.
It's just about, exploring masculinity, like primal masculinity, in a controlled space where there's no ego, there's no competitiveness. Most men in their lifetime will only ever have an experience like that when they're about to have a fight with someone, they're on the piss or out doing something. Like, you would never be challenged to look a man in the eye and explore the entire experience with another man. That is the purpose of it. It is to go into your body without speaking, without swearing, without yelling, and explore. Move your body in such a way and engage with another human being, and then explore those other masculine parts of yourself, the primal parts, When you're challenged to yell or to roar and to make those facial muscles in a controlled manner, is basically to come into yourself and say, what is this making me feel? So that next time when you are out, you're aware of those things that come up, the initial fears, the blockages that you have.
Yeah. And I went from being uncomfortable to then sort of feeling like there's this standoff period between the people that you're doing it, as we move around the room, and then moving into fucking just absolutely understanding. Man, it's sort of hard to explain really, but it's
that human connection piece. Once the ego starts to drop and everything starts to relax, and you understand like that survival threat is going, and that you're a part of this experience, and then your body realizes, oh, this is okay. What I'm doing isn't, what you would be used to feeling in another experience outside of a controlled space. But it's also a way of letting men know that they can connect on such a deeper and different level with, those masculine traits that are seen as aggressive. to be appropriated and feel in a controlled environment that this can be normal and there is a healthy way to express it.
True. And that's important, man. And that sort of brings me on to the next thing, mate, is that the talks we had as a group of males was unreal, man. For starters, credit to you, bro. The way you spoke, man. You spoke with a lot of strength, knowledge, in a way where, well, I felt like I could trust you, man. I knew what you're talking about. And I think having a history, having an experience in life, and then doing your walk of life really showed out, man, in terms of talking about some of these topics we spoke about, man. And so credit to you in the way that you conducted that, bro. And
Appreciating you, brother.
Yeah, it was wicked, man. And then secondly, just as a group, man, I mean, depending on which sort of topic we spoke about, but it was good to talk about, you know, it was like, I mean, we started off with anger.
Yeah, well, the whole process and the structure of this workshop is first to start with leaning into what is uncomfortable and then exploring that. And then we're basically setting up a process for you to start exploring the emotions as they're coming up, and you're doing it through practical exercises, then go into the education. Because I think that the whole story behind Emotion Code is unlocking all these parts that we think that we know about anger, and what our way or the lens that we're viewing it from and what it means to each individual. And then when people get to speak on it and dive into their own anger stories and see how they were modeled as a child and how they've been exploring it their whole life, because there's so many different human beings out there. But when you get into a space and a circle, and then most of the things that come up are quite common. You know, there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 men in a room with the same feeling, and they might not be shouting and screaming at the start like, oh, that's me. But they know because they're listening. And then that starts to make them feel comfortable, because they're like, oh, fuck, I thought that was me.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, for men, it's always so internalized, you know, the guilt part, the same with the shame. Although the actions are different, the internalization that men have and what they do with themselves after that is much often the same. It's like we end up valuing ourselves or loving ourselves just a little bit less, and we feel like we have to show up in the world a different way to be accepted.
Yeah. And it was, what was really interesting when we started talking about like the body shaming and the sexual shaming, you know, like anger, stress, guilt, you know, that is probably some of the obvious topics that you can come up with, but it really did make me think about the sexual shaming. And it was funny when you said, like, you know, measuring your cock up against the other guy and wondering how you know, and actually talking about shit that, like, fuck, as a kid, I can remember sort of having all those sort of feelings and where do you actually stand in this world, you know, and not even with that, just even like, you know, your strength and ability in sports. And it was a continuation of, I guess, working out who you are to the next guy, you know.
And it is, and like we always speak about that in the workshop, like unconsciously we are capturing these moments in our life, and we're seeing it, and whether or not we're feeling it in the moment, that is a part of your journey and your human experience, and there is something you're taking from everything, because you're always looking internally for validation of yourself. So when at each part or part of whatever it is in your life, whether it's your relationship or whether you're in those adolescent years, they're like the key areas of your life where you're like, where do I fit in the world?
True.
You know? And there's so many things that people don't explore, like the healthy and unhealthy masculinity role models, and, you know, the shows that we're watching, the fucking movie stars we idolize. You know, the first thing we talked about in this podcast was where your dream is. It's like, I want to be that guy. And every time we don't get close to what that person is, I value myself less as a person. And then where do I fit in the world?
Yeah. And we didn't, just to go back to that, man. It's so true. I've had a very similar sort of walk of life of yourself in the way of transformation, you know. And I got to the stage where, fuck, I had everything. I've had a big business. I've had the beautiful missus and, you know, the kids, and I've fucked up a ton of times. And even this podcast, I sort of just got to this point where I'm like, you know, I've had multiple businesses and things like that, and I just had to get to the point of like, there's something more to this earth, man. You know, there's something more to my life. There's a purpose out there, and that was having to go more within And the more I've discovered it, and it's such a fucking journey to get there though, bro. You know,
it's just a big ass onion, man, and you just start peeling the layers, and then it feels like they're coming back on again.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, and when you've done a workshop like this, it also just exposes you to go, I'm still at the very fucking beginning with it all, man.
Hey, and I'm telling you, from my point of view, you know, I'm very early in my journey. The only thing that I'm gifted any different to another man is the ability to put a book together and demonstrate it in a class, because, you know, the biggest problem that we have out there still in society is people don't, well, functionally most men aren't emotionally intelligent enough to know the answers that they should be giving to a friend. Most of us, we just go on the ego drive, the support system of, yeah, fuck that, man, that was fucked anyway. Oh, don't worry about your missus, man, she was whatever. And all that does is reinforces the shitty behaviors that you've been taking through your whole life, and then making it acceptable. And all you do is you take it to the next person. Yeah. And that's why I think so many men do so well single. And that's why there's that fuckboy culture and whatever else everyone does, because you can live on a high your whole life, but as soon as you find an intimate partner you like, watch how quickly a man will crumble, because all that woman will be for him is a mirror. Yeah. And she'll be reflective in it. And there's just such a big problem in society at the moment with, you know, balancing between the ego and when the mirror is reflected on you. What is it that a man should be doing? You know, everyone sits in such a victim mindset. You know, they don't know that what is it that this experience is showing me, and where is it that I need to change? Yeah. Instead of looking at it, you are the problem and you are causing this, and I don't need this. Whereas a lot of the time, that is the unhealthy structure of men in the society today. And I know because I was him. I still am. The only difference I have is I have the education to know when, you know, I sit in my own time, I'm like, oh, fucked up there. This is where I can be showing up better. But it's a practice, right? But the biggest problem is that no one knows yet. And that's the importance of these workshops and this work and the men's work that's getting out there, because it's growing, man. The space is growing.
Yeah,
because
100%.
That education piece and the tool set, once people have them, it's a starting point. And then they get to choose what they want to do. If they want to go out in the world and still be a prick to every other person, they get to choose that. But it's the integration and embodying the process and then implementing it, and then setting an integrity that you want to live and stand by.
And it's definitely knowledge, man. Like the way I've got brought up and the teachings I've had and the way I've been programmed as a kid. And this ain't being a victim, but it's very much, this is what you're programmed to do. I mean, you're really only going to go down that fucking path until you know a different way.
That's right.
And that's on all different levels. I also say a saying, you know, like you don't know until you know. And it's purely that. And I think until you're ready to go and step out and go through some unknown doors and make yourself vulnerable, you know, that's where the work starts happening. And that's what we're talking about. We're only at the very start of this path but it's a good path to be on, man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I just think that, firstly, I'm grateful to be a part of the people that are changing other men's lives, because the more of me out there and the more people that get inspired by it and want to go down that path and choose to do their own thing or just share a conversation with another male, that is the movement, right? The path of healing and the path of becoming more authentic in yourself and understanding what that is.
So this brings me on to the next topic, really, because one of the workshops was If You Knew Me. Now this was a good one, man, where we all sort of sat around and you opened up the circle with starting a sentence about yourself saying, if you knew me, you would know, or this, you know, and so on. And a few good stories come up, you know, that was shared in the circle, and we'll keep them in the circle. But I'm quite happy to tell you about mine. And mine was, if you knew me, you'd be confused. You'd know I'm confused about my old life and my old beliefs and my old programming, just like what we're talking about, versus this new path that I'm on and this new journey. And a lot of them are around relationship, you know. A lot of them are like even just about drinking habits, going out, socializing. And a lot of them are also about trusting in yourself. And I'm talking about myself here. I'm sure everyone's got their own way of explaining it. But I was confused about, am I ready yet? You know, am I ready to do this podcast? You know, can I be a good role model out there in society? and things like that. And it took that process to actually work that out and come honest about it. And even amongst the group, there was no answers there among the group. It was just good to be able to get it out and be honest and vulnerable among the other boys and what they were saying as well, you know. But I don't know if this was part of your process or part of the plan, but then after the breathing exercise, it all come clear.
Well, it's always a hard one, the way that the workshop is structured, and when we get to the breath work at the end, what we're doing is trying to basically guide you to take you back to the times and the places that you remember those painful emotional experiences, or times in your life where you've been confused or wondered why this happened or that happened. And everything is basically structured perfectly to when you get that point that everything's starting to flow around your conscious mind. You're really feeling the intensity of those moments. And then when you go into the breath work, and we can either talk about that now or in another spot, but
go for it, bro.
We're allowing ourselves to go into our unconscious minds, our subconscious minds, and that's where all our memories are stored.
Yeah.
So, it's a fucking crazy way that it works, but once the breath work starts to engage in your body and your brainwave starts to lower, and your front part of your brain starts to shut off, and you start going into that sort of mystic mind and sort of getting guided through that process, it just takes you into another planet, and it allows you to go back to those experiences and bring them up and then heal from whatever those painful memories are, because so many people, and I was one of them. It was nearly 29, 30 years of my life worth of baggage. And I'm not saying that breathwork is the only way to process that, but it's a really good starting point for a person to be like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And everyone has so many different, beautiful, powerful things to say after they come out of a journey. And, that's why I got trained, because it's like just getting that piece of, fuck, you just helped change my life. That's enough for me.
I walked into your workshop feeling really good with the path I'm on, feeling quite good. And I shared with you that I found my mum at the age of 14 through suicide. But prior to that, I had a pretty disconnected life with my mother. She was young. Anyway, it goes on. But I was, she was never really around, and I didn't really think too much of it, man. But before we'd done the breath work, you asked us to journal.
We went into some inner child stuff and childhood trauma.
Yeah. Now, if you go to my page here, man, I haven't written anything. As soon as you said, go and journal that, it just come over me, man. I just sat there and I fucking cried. It just all come out, man. I just had these visions of that come back from my childhood, man, that was sort of wondering where my mum is, where's my sister, where am I going next, who just I had all these questions as kids, man, not having any stability, sometimes not even really knowing the people that I was with at the time, and those emotions were coming up. I never really knew they were there, but now looking, and then those same emotions then went into like, fuck mum, you're not even here anymore, and I still can't be connected to you, which fucks me off, because now we're older and we're healing and things like that. I just wish you were here, and now we could make up for all that lost time, but now she's completely gone, so it really got me emotional, man, and I got all that out, which was good. Now, even though that come up, it then helped me reflect back to some of my insecurities back in a relationship and trust issues and things that I deal with now as an adult, and always question like, why the fuck am I like this, and man, it's
from those experiences, and that's why it is such a fundamental piece for all men to explore that inner child work, go back to that childhood trauma, and you're never going to find a place to do it outside of a workshop. You need to be in the men's workspace with a really good coach that's trauma informed or has got experience in the space, because the purpose of bringing it to your awareness is because you didn't really see it that way before. You remember the experience, but you don't remember what it did to you. And everyone that we talk about with trauma is that everyone's experience can be taken differently, because it's that little boy and whatever he was craving in that time in his life, and that experience that he didn't have validated is how he is affected. And how he goes on in the next part of his life is accumulated from whatever that experience was for him.
Yeah.
And it's usually around an emotional behavior that becomes one of survival. When I can't receive this love, or when I didn't crave or get the attention that I needed, I now do these things, and they can come in so many different ways, you know, whether you're people pleasing or you're doing things out of character that you wouldn't even be aware of, because the behavior becomes unconscious and it becomes just a reflection of when that experience happened to me, this is how I felt. And the way I coped with that situation was to do X. And the way that we work through trauma and healing is by identifying that and taking yourself back to a place, finding acceptance in the experience, and then giving you a different perception of you aren't that little boy, you know. You did deserve to receive that love, or you did deserve to have your experience validated. You did deserve to have the attention and the praise and all the things that the little boy is always craving. And then once you find acceptance and forgiveness, and, you know, you get to a point where you understand that that isn't who I was. I wasn't supposed to be that child that was affected in that way. And then you find a process and you work through it, and then you start changing those bad behaviors that you have accumulated over the years. And so many men have so many, we just don't know what they are, but it just becomes, why is my relationship so fucked? Why can't I do this? Why don't I feel the way? Because it's just those emotional experiences that you've had that haven't been processed, and no one's ever helped you go through that emotional experience the right way.
Yeah. And the thing that's coming to mind when you're talking about all that, and this is for the viewers that are going to be watching this, and it's one of the most scary parts that I hear most. You know, I tried to give away a free ticket to it, man, before it. I mean, it was only the night before, but, you know, there's a lot of people that want to do the help. They know it's in there, they can feel it, but the biggest reason why they can't get through that door is because they're scared of what's going to come up and how it's going to look. And what I want to say is that, again, you got to have an experienced facilitator or person running it, you know, and it's credit to you, and I'm sure Wah does exactly the same thing, man, is that you build an environment where you feel safe. You feel okay. Yeah, okay, you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable if you're crying or whatever, but I know when I was crying, man, I was completely in a safe place. I felt good. I felt like anyone was there to comfort me if I needed it, but I was also happy just being by myself. And I think, you know, that's just the only hurdle you got to get across, I guess, if you are thinking about doing this, that you just got to know that you are going into a safe environment. And the idea is for these things to come up, because it's these things that are obviously getting in the fucking way of having a life that you deserve, you know? It
is. Like, I've done it. We've all been there, and it is the hardest step to take. And I guess that's why we're doing podcasts. That's why I'm doing workshops. That's why we're getting media team involved, and, you know, the testimonials, because people, you know, there's two ways that they can feel. And whether I'm the facilitator or another Joe Blow or whatever it is that you need to have that experience of, fuck, man, those guys really made me feel safe. And it wasn't like a hierarchy of I'm better than whoever. It's just an open space to feel that whatever it is that you need to process in that moment, and however your experience is going to be on that day, that you can have that experience, and you'll be supported either way. You want to cry, you want to scream, you want to yell, you want to be quiet the whole time. You can just be a part of the experience, because sometimes listening is powerful.
Yeah. We went for a walk at lunchtime with a few of the boys, and the thing we were talking about most was like everyone and what they're going through and what they've expressed and showed, and throughout the whole you know, workshop, that we relate to every single person. Everyone that said something, there was a part of what they said I was like, I can relate to that. Yeah, I relate to that guy, and I relate to that guy too, you know.
So those unspoken words that everyone's thinking. Yeah. And that's what's so beautiful about men's work, is that once someone starts talking and we have those realizations, that allows us to start opening up a bit. Like, oh, hang on, I think I'm going to speak now, because I feel the same as that guy, and we're on the same path.
Yeah, yeah. I attended a men's group. It's probably about a year ago at Holyoke.
At the what?
Holyoke. Holyoke's like a drug and alcohol counselling service. And I was seeing a counsellor there, and they were like, why don't you join a men's group? And, you know, you've got a lot to offer, Dave, you know, plus you'll get a lot out of it. And my ego straight away was like, nah, fuck that, man. I don't, you know, full of fucking drug, alcohol, fucking, you know, what? I might just over speaking to that, but like, then that was just my ego talking and trying to talk me out of it. But then I thought, you know what, man, the path I'm going down is fucking shit house. I'm over it. So I'm just going to go and walk through that door and do it. And it's a 12-week or a 12-session sort of workshop that you do. And it runs through all these different sort of topics and things. And by the end of it, you get this little medallion that you can say that you've done them. But man, it opened me up to men's workshops, man, and how powerful it is. You know, of guys sitting around in a circle, no matter where you come from and what you're doing. And at Holyoke in this circle, you know, you had people that were living on the streets. You had your high up CEOs. You had people that are about to go to prison. People that have just come out of prison. You had single fathers, you had, you know, all sorts, man, and we all shared our stories throughout every night on different topics, man, and we were all connected.
It's beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
And it's just that power of just being, you know, opening yourself to an experience, because you just don't know what's on the other side, and it could be a gift, could be a waste of time, but if you don't explore, then how will you ever know?
Yeah, you always get something though, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
There's always a powerful experience, and some are better than others, and I guarantee you there's going to be people that'll come to my workshop, have that experience, and there's going to be others that are like, oh, I wasn't really, you know, vibing with that, but that's completely fine, because it's up to the person who chooses to have their experience, and we need to just let them do that.
Yeah, that's it, man. So let's get into this 9D breathwork.
The game changer.
Yeah, the game changer, the magic.
Yeah, the hype has been real. So, I did discuss earlier on, bro, about when I got trained up. So this is gifted to me by a man named Brian Kelly, and he engineered this whole thing. And he's got a foundation where you can be trained by him and breath masters, and then also be accredited as a 9D facilitator. So the difference between just your standard holotropic breathwork and 9D is what it composes of. So you've been in a session with me, but I'll just give the audience a bit of a brief. So Brian basically guides the process. These are selected and specific journeys for all different types of things, but specifically for letting go of trauma. We had a specific journey that the boys did, which was called Letting Go, and it is a 90-minute journey. And it encompasses subliminal messaging, hypnosis, the guided coaching, binaural beats. There's a tuned music. There's all sorts of shit going on inside those earphones. But the way that they guide you in the breathing, into the transformation inside the space, it is all very specific, and it just takes you to another planet, and it allows you to tap into so many deeper and darker things, and just... it's a beautiful process, and I am glad to be one of the guys in Perth facilitating it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. If you want me to describe it, you can't.
jump in, man. I'm sure someone that's done it needs to talk about it.
I can remember going into it and coming out of it, and it was two totally different feelings of it, man. Words can't really explain. I mean, Danny and I tried to talk about it. It's a bit before you got here as well, man. And words can't really describe it, but fucking amazing, man. It's the first few words that come to me to go through it, you know. And the way that it is, I guess the way it runs, you know, through that 90 minutes is perfect, man. Like how the introduction to it all, about how what's going to go on, and the affirmations that are going to come on, and what frequency of was it set at?
So it's 432, but they use different frequencies, right? So specifically the frequency of sound that comes on at different times is to tap into different emotional centers within your body.
Yeah, right.
But you wouldn't even know, because once you're down and you're deep into the journey, like, you're just a part of the experience.
Yeah. I can't get over how it's like being on fucking drugs, man. It's like I've taken something, you know, like in the way of when it just takes you away to a place. So my experience, first of all, was just the breathing. I thought the way that you taught that was unreal, man. And it's easy, like really, like once you start getting into the role of it, and the way that you're guided through it, there's like a bit of a humor to it as well, man. Like the journey, the music, it's all coming back to me now, man.
Yeah. Oh man, so many people, and it's just crazy though. Obviously there's a purpose behind every single journey that you do, but it's just, fuck, I love getting in the sharing circles afterwards and just being like, give yourselves a little bit of time, and I want to hear about your journey. You know, like I've had a few really deep 9D journeys, and I've had like spiritual stuff happening where I've been in these rooms, and you know, I had a reflection of my mum, and exactly where I was. It was like I was fucking there, the smells, the touches, and I felt the presence of like an angel coming down. And as I was looking up, it was a reflection of my current partner, but they were coming in to sort of show me safety. And be hard for some of the listeners out there unless they've been into one, but like it's just euphoric, powerful, and you just have to do one.
Yeah, exactly. It is hard to integrate after it and talk to people about it. I guess you know,
it's like trying to reflect a dream the next day is literally what you're doing, because that brainwave state you're in is nearly at an unconscious state where you're having dreams.
Yeah.
So when you wake up, you're just sort of like, fuck, that was an intense dream. And that was the same. It's just an intense experience.
Yeah, true. And I went from, it was almost like I went on a journey, and it was a journey from start to finish where I went back to a child, and I sort of connected with my mum and that little boy again. Then it went through to me understanding like my past relationship, my last businesses and friendships and things like that I've held and been and it sort of took me through being self-destructive but then also like I had a bit of a cry to my ex-partner and to my kids of like the father I was. So I was sort of like letting those guilt emotions out, and
it's fucking powerful, man.
Yeah, man. But anyway, it finished with me reaching up and grabbing that little boy. It was like a soul, putting it back in my heart, and I sort of spent the last, it felt like an hour, but it was probably only the last 5 minutes of just hugging myself, more or less saying, I've got you, man, with all your experiences that you've gone through. You're finally connected now. You're both safe. And
that last part is very euphoric and makes you feel very warm, and it's just, very unique.
Yeah. We can see it though.
Fuck it. Wait till you have some of the other journeys. Like that's just part one. Like there's 5 other current journeys, and there's some new ones coming out.
Yeah. So you can pick and choose what one you want to put on.
Yeah. So as a 9D affiliate that's within the business, we have access to the library, right? So there's currently 5 journeys, and it is expanding at a very fast rate. I'm actually talking to Brian at the moment about building my own, which is guided with my own voice. So there's a lot of new things coming out in the future, but there's 5 other current journeys, and they're all very powerful.
Yeah. And are they specific to what you want to heal, or
well, I can just basically tell you, letting go is just a good all-rounder. It's a good entry-level point into, you've never experienced this, here's 100-mile-an-hour breathwork session. There's another one that is deep embedded trauma, so the 5 trauma imprints, this one's called.
Wow.
Then we have another one called ancestral healing, which is like going into generational and intergenerational trauma, which is a fucking really out there journey. And then we have the integration and the reintegration journeys, which have just been released, which are basically the journey that you would have, and you can have this one in up regulation and conscious connected breathing, or in a down regulation technique. And this is about people that go through any of those journeys and they're feeling a little bit raw and vulnerable still, and they sort of want a reintegration back through a guided process back into life, which it really helps people. I haven't personally done this new journey, but it was designed for that, for those people that open a few doors and want a pathway back in and a guided experience. And from what I've heard, it's beautiful.
It's cool that you say that, because I noticed that we all come out of it a little bit different. I mean, we all took off our headphones and were just like, what the fuck? You know, that was amazing. But I noticed that some of us are a little bit more emotional than the others. Some of us were a little bit higher. Some of us were a little bit lower.
Still going through their process.
Yeah. Man, so I guess where you going for this, bro? How do you how for the listeners, like how do they get part of this, man? Like,
okay, so specifically Emotion Code workshops, obviously through our page, Emotion Code Australia, and obviously on my personal page, I'll be advertising through both the pages for just 9D journeys specifically. I haven't really got a plan with frequency yet and how I want to integrate the events, but obviously full-blown workshops as a full-day event, and then 90 breathwork journeys, which will be chosen to be specific and advertised for different days. I might start doing once a month. And then
it's one of those things, man. I know you're a father and you've got your own personal stuff going on and running a full-time job and a family and whatnot. I really hope there comes a way, man, where you can make this your thing, bro. Because after experience it, man, I really want everyone to experience it, and not necessarily people that have had a bad upbringing or a trauma event or something like that. Even just people that want to.
It's just powerful medicine, man. Workshops are for everyone. Like, whether people think that they need it or not, like it's good to raise it, that the perception of you need to go somewhere because you're damaged. Right, every man should be willing to look at himself through this process just to learn something about themselves. The whole point of the workshop is to learn about your emotions and give you a different perspective and have questions asked to you that you would have never had asked in your life. And the reward at some of the answers that you might find, or something that might give you a point to learn from, when in your life are you ever going to get it? And you should be open to an experience like this. And I guess that's my end goal, is full-time in the men's workspace. I did talk to a few of the boys, but I'm building an online program called the Conscious Masculine Program, which is an 8-week journey for a much more integrated online experience after a workshop. And then, like I said, I'm linked up with the men now, so there's a lot going on with the men. They're expanding all over Australia as well. So, watch this space. There's a lot going on between workshops, 9D journeys, online work. It's open forum at the moment, and I'm just looking to get involved with anyone that's keen to be in the industry and other facilitators that want to join up together to just put together experiences for men.
Yeah, cool, man. And is it just going to stay men, or are you going to?
It's a hard question. I love working with men, and whether that's going to expand into men's and women, like men and women specifically in workshops. I think for me in this part of my journey, I'd like to focus on men's workspaces for quite some time, because we did touch on this earlier. I think that I'm poised in sort of an open market for people of our demographic, and I want to expand that as far and wide as I can before trying to engage with women and diversifying. I sort of want to be niche in the market, and for those people that are looking to get in with someone like me and the guys that are supporting me, that this is the space that will still be open for that market. So we'll see what the future holds. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, it is the start of your journey with all this, man, and it feels like the men is your calling. Yeah, I mean, you fucking nailed it when I was there, man. And so for those that are at home and want to get in contact with you, obviously you're on socials and things like that, but I'll have your details up on my website. Can reach out to me. I'll put you on to Alan, or you can go straight to his to some of his links that we'll have on the website and stuff like that, and
awesome, bro.
Watch this space, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me again today, bro, and coming to the workshop and experiencing it. It's nothing better than starting with a conversation and then jumping straight into a workshop and just getting to feel exactly what it is that we're trying to do here.
Yeah, sweet, man. I'll encourage it too, bro. Thanks for today, bro. I'm sure we're going to do another one soon, man.
I think we will be, bro.
Yeah, sure. Hey, man, you should come and join in on the WoW one.
The WoW one?
We have 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Cool, bro. Thanks heaps, man.
All right, brother. Thank you.
See ya.